Welcome back to Grand Tactician Civil War Union Campaign. Okay, so I did a few things off camera in advance time a little bit. So things that are going on now is Tennessee Army, Grant's over here. The 2nd Corps remains at Nashville. It's now in a better supply position. Got some more supply depots in the area. 1st Corps has advanced across the river and is now besieging Fort Donelson with a pretty good chance of success. Worth noting, this was the corps that was under that had some expiring enlistments upcoming, and this corps has in fact dropped a fair amount, as Rowley's corps has dropped a fair amount of its strength. See that these brigades are down around, this brigade is down around 1,200, 1,800, 1,300, 1,300. And these were full-size brigades before. Originally, 2nd Corps was the smaller of the two, and the 1st Corps was around 30,000 men, and it's down below 18,000. But in its present situation, I think that's okay for kind of bumping up against these forts. The overall army strength is still around 50,000. And I think the Army of the Tennessee is okay for now. Army of the Missouri is almost done building this fort to guard the western approach into Cairo. McClellan has come down into the very upper part of the Shenandoah Valley, actually up above the Shenandoah Valley, and has completed a fort at Salem. Rather oddly named Fort Beauregard, but okay. And I'm just kind of waiting with him for now because we saw the Army of North Carolina was kind of moving around in here, and they got on the railroad and moved down this way. I don't know if they moved across into the Shenandoah or if they came down toward Lynchburg. So I'm kind of hanging out with McClellan's Kanawha Army here for a bit until we get eyes on that unit again. And I'm also waiting because Fort Beauregard is complete, and I recruited a couple of artillery batteries for it, but they have not yet arrived. May press on down and take Lynchburg. That would kind of expose McClellan, though. The Army of Northern Virginia could just come right down on him, or some of these independent forces. This semi-phantom fort just sits here. I literally do not know what to do about it. Smith can't engage it, can't besiege it. I don't know why. So I don't really see much point to keeping Smith here. Virginia blockade is back in blockade position. It's back up to green readiness. Didn't really take any damage in its bombardment attempt. It just lost readiness. It's regained it. It's blockading again. Turns out that if a fleet is in blockade mode, they do not engage land armies using river or sea transport. But if they are in patrol mode, they do. I shifted the Potomac Squadron to patrol mode and got it to shoot several times at the Army of North Carolina, sailing around. Didn't really appear to do much to it, but at least it shot at them. The blockade strength of this blockading squadron is still pretty, oops, didn't need that. Still pretty strong. 100% blockade for these ports up these rivers. And that's all coming from this blockade squadron. So I shifted all these little river squadrons to patrol mode. I was able to slip the James River Squadron right around Hampton without being engaged by the mysterious Fort Norfolk. So he's come all the way up the river. There's no Confederate naval river force up this way. There's no forts, apparently. So he's up in a great position to keep eyes on everything going on. Matter of fact, I'm going to move him right. He's already under orders. It's just pause right now to move right up here. Maybe he'll get eyes on the Army of North Carolina. Okay, up it here, I have learned it's probably a bad idea to assign forts to an overarching command. Because if you look at this fort command under Delafield, it is showing that he's got an eventual strength of 2,800 with 490 currently with him. I think he just pulled all the units out of these 3 forts over here on the Virginia side of the river, and they're now sitting with him. And the fact that he's expecting another 1,300 men, oh, by the way, which kind of matches roughly what the strength of Fort Washington is, he might do the same thing again. And get rid of Fort Washington. Because, you know, once there's no garrison in these things, they're abandoned, I guess. And I was able to come over here and start building another fort exactly on the site of the old Fort Mackey. So what I intend to do here is kind of rebuild these 2 forts, Fort Mackey here, Fort Hooker here. Of course, they'll have different names when they build again. Transfer these batteries back into them, but not put them underneath this Capitol Department. Leave them independent. Otherwise, you know, bad things might happen. I'm kind of thinking that Fort Washington is going to get abandoned. And I don't see a way to take, once I've moved a unit of a fort, which is treated kind of as a brigade level command, once I move it into this organization, I don't see a way to move it back out. You can detach a corps from an army and make it independent, but units lower than that level you can't. Once they're in, they're in. So Fort Washington is in this corps. I can't move it back out. So I'm kind of, you know, this is a pretty strong fort. So I think that, anyway, I'll just put it this way. In future playthroughs, I'm not going to do something like this again. Because I think it's doing weird things with the units. And, well, enough breath expended on that. Now, expiring enlistments. What have I done with the Army of the Potomac? Let's just open up this. So we can see here that a lot of these units, 7 days left for the 1st Brigade, 1st Division. These are experienced units too. That's a 3-star brigade. 2-star brigade here, 7 days left. 7 days left. We went through all this before. So when these enlistments expire, the brigades aren't going to disappear, but they're going to drop a lot of troop strength. Some of the guys will re-enlist, probably about 40 to 50%. What are we at for our re-enlistment? 43% estimated re-enlistment rate. So a lot of these brigades are going to drop a lot of strength, but I went to the Department of Pennsylvania and I transferred 6 full-strength infantry brigades and basically made every division in the Army of the Potomac, a 4-brigade division. And same with the artillery as well. 4 batteries. I moved over a couple of artillery batteries as well. So these are full strength brigades. Almost 3,000 men apiece. So that is 3 times 6. I've got almost 18,000 new troops coming into the Army of the Potomac. And they are en route right now. 5 days out, 4 days out. They'll be here quite soon. I didn't do anything with the cavalry brigades because all of the cavalry in this army were recruited later, and they've all still got well more than a year. Didn't really need to do anything with those. So temporarily, McDowell's strength is reflected as 112,000, which coincidentally is about the same as the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia. Here in about a week, I expect it to drop back down to something in the high 80,000 range. That said, it is late July, and this army has done nothing except sit right here all year. I feel completely McClellanish on this whole deal. Meanwhile, this little army under Smith has been kind of kicking butt. Missouri's been successful. Army of the Tennessee is making some progress. My biggest army is doing jack squat because I was all nervous about his manpower situation. As soon as these brigades show up, and I am going to temporarily bring Patrick's army down here. They're all new. They've got plenty of time on their enlistments, and they are all rifle armed. Once it gets down here, I am going to temporarily place, I won't even change the name, but he's going to temporarily come under McDowell's command, essentially act as a 4th Corps. And we're going to have a big-ass battle with the Army of Northern Virginia. Because something needs to break open here on this central front. And eventually, I want to see if I can take Richmond before the end of the year. This is my plan. Our ironclad squadron is mostly repaired. All the ships are back up above 90% now. There's just a couple that are reflected as finishing up repairs. Ajax back in 5 days. Most of them are actually in the fleet already, back in 1 day. You get the idea. Once they're ready, which is very soon, I am going to bring them down against Fort Norfolk again. And the reason I'm doing it's kind of my last harebrained thought on trying to finally take this fort, because that was the unit that originally engaged it, knocked it all the way down to 0, and has the perk to capture the place. But because they were the originally engaged fleet on this fort, maybe they can do what the Virginia blockade could not. We'll see. If that doesn't work, I think I'll just ignore the fort and just proceed as if it's not there. The only problem being that it does still engage fleets that get close enough to it. Not armies. I mean, Smith apparently can't see it. Nor can it see Smith. He simply will not siege it. Or you get the idea. Anyway, just because they were the first ones that engaged it, maybe the ironclad squadron can finally take that fort for some weird reason in the data files, not through any rational reason. If that doesn't work, then maybe off camera for the first time. I usually don't mess with all this kind of stuff, but I might actually go into the files and see if I can just swap ownership of this fort from Confederate to Union. I'm not very smart about that stuff. I might wind up damaging more than I fix, but I don't know what else to do. Something went wrong with that fort. Okay. Let's advance some time. Got all these little squadrons getting back up to their intel field of view positions. I don't see the Army of North Carolina. That's a new one, Lovell's Corps. Okay, that's the old Army of Georgia, under the same, I think, under the same commander, that has now been folded into the ANV. I think. Lovell's Corps, Pierce's Corps, Johnston's Corps, Longstreet's Corps, and then there's still Magruder's Corps down here. I can't mouse over it. Army of the Shenandoahs on top. Presumably still under the command of Jackson. Polk's command still independent. There's Magruder's Corps. ANV also. Okay. Patrick is here. Everyone's still 100% supply. And they're all drawing from this one supply depot. That must be pretty big. Shenandoah Army. Patrick comes under McDowell's command. And these new brigades are only 1 or 2 days out. We're now up to 144,000 troops, which will probably drop to about 115 to 120,000 here in a few days. But that still leaves us enough to go up against the ANV. And when you put them in this patrol status, you give them you put them in patrol, and then you give them a place to go, and they go back and forth between those 2 points most of the time. For some reason, the James Squadron is not doing that. Possibly because I didn't put him in patrol until after he was at that point. Now he should kind of go back and forth along this area. Oh, there's the Army North. Well, crap. As soon as I move Patrick out, there goes the ANC up here to besiege Fort Perrin. And Fort Perrin did not have its units, its recruited units. How big is this army? 10,000. Okay. Well, so much for that plan. I don't want to lose Winchester. Take Patrick's army. Attach him back out. All right. Offensive stance, scouting. Send Patrick back over to the valley. I mean, that's his main job. That's what that force is for. And we'll just see what happens to McDowell's strength. Okay, there's our funding 2 policy. We've improved our credit rating back up. Let's take a look at the policies. I hadn't really thought ahead yet to where I was going to go next. Let's take a look at the overall troop levels. A little over 300,000. We've still got about 80,000, 85,000 higher than the Confederate fielded strength, and that's with they having a draft and we don't. But we also saw a newspaper headline that the Confederacy was having credit rating problems. I think I'm going to hold off on going to the draft. Revenue Act. That's going to impose an income tax. It's going to have a relatively small effect on support. This war bonds would improve our credit rating, but public wealth drops, which would in turn result in, doesn't say so, but just the fact that the public wealth drops would contract our economy, and that may have an effect on support as well. I know I don't want to mess around with bounties. Chance of intervention is slowly dropping, so I don't feel compelled to go with emancipation. Well, a tariff act. Imports more lucrative. Protect our own industry. Europeans won't like it. But it should not increase the likelihood of intervention. That's actually that might be a pretty good way to go. Definitely don't want civilian warships. It reduces transport capacity. And I'm not building a whole bunch of those little steamers anyway. Don't want that. Don't want this. I'm going to go with the tariffs. Hopefully Patrick can get up here and influence this siege and drive the ANC back before Fort Perrin falls. Maybe not, because there's really not a garrison here. It says garrison to 555, but that includes the number of recruited batteries that were supposed to go to that fort. I don't think they were actually there yet. Alright, speed time back up. Go, Patrick, go. Get over there. Maybe I should have force marched him. Nope. Lost the fort. Well, fine. Keep going. Keep going, Patrick. Don't let him take Winchester. How's this look? Well, let's just get a good look at the Army of North Carolina's. Let's pause this a second. Good look at their order of battle. 1, 2, 3, 4 infantry brigades, one of which is kind of half strength. 1 cav brigade, not very large, and 1 battery. And this, I think, is this army's first combat. So this is actually a pretty good way to get that first combat out of the way for these troops. I don't think those percentages are correct. So let's go pop over and see how this other siege is going. It's going pretty well, looks like. The numbers that are shown up here are often very, very far off from the numbers that are shown in the actual siege screen. Anyway, this looks like it's going all right. Lyons Fort is almost done up here by K Road. Once this fort is completed and manned, and I'm going to pop over here, kind of put another fort in this area, and then probably come down here and put a fort not only blocking this road, but also right here on the river so that a Confederate force can't come up the river this way. To be honest, this game, it kind of feels a lot like whack-a-mole. Every time you move something, boom, there goes a Confederate army right into the little gap you left, just like right here. And then watch. If and when Patrick wins this siege, which way is the Army of North Carolina going to retreat? Logic would say back up the valley towards Stanton. But maybe he'll just run right across into Maryland. Or up toward Pittsburgh, some kind of nonsense like that. Okay, the new brigades have arrived. And the volunteers have gone home. But the ones who remain are under 36-month contracts. So we got small brigades here, but our timing, our contract issue is solved. And so we've got about 30,000 in the first corps, 36,000 in the second, and 28,000 in the third corps. It's still showing a vestigial remnant of a line going over this way, but that's where Patrick's corps was. It's been detached. However, let's add that up. We call it 30,000 plus 36, so that's 66. 66 plus 28. That should be about 94,000 men, but the game thinks he's got 124,000, which is almost exactly the strength of Patrick's corps. Corps/army. So this number is wrong. So what that tells me is once a corps is in an army, even if you detach it for independent operations, the game still thinks that, yeah, see right here, it's still showing Shenandoah Army is part of the Potomac Army. That may just be a little bit of lag. See if it keeps reflecting that. It looks like these little squadrons kind of get hung up where they're supposed to turn around. Yeah. Okay, are these guys ready yet? Okay, Catawba's moving out too. Attached. Attached. Dictator's still in harbor. Ajax attached. Not quite ready yet. Doesn't really prevent him from moving. Just come on down the river a little. Come on down the bay a little bit. See if Fort Beauregard has his batteries yet. Where is Fort Hilton? I think that's probably the Missouri. Nope. Still 10 days before those, 12 days before those batteries get there. What is Fort Hill House? I think that's this new fort over here in Missouri. Yep. Indiana officer. Let's do that. 2 batteries. Kind of in our favor. And how's the First Corps doing over here? It's looking all right. One thing I've noticed is we've got a fairly decent flow of small arms, rifles being made, but I am not seeing a lot of improved artillery. Vast majority of batteries, even in the field armies, are still 6-pounders. I think that may be occurring because I built so many of those ironclads and also frigates, and that is sucking up a lot of iron and steel. Those ironclads are still building too. I kind of suspect that's why I'm not seeing a lot of 3-inch 3-inch rifles, 10-pounder Parrots, 14-pound James rifles. Just not seeing too many of those come in. Or even 12-pound Napoleons, for that matter. Oh, I thought time was advancing. Oops, sorry. Attached, 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 attached. Okay. Alright, Farragut, see if you can come down and finish this job. I suspect probably not. I hope that unit routed message pertains to the fort and not to Patrick's army. Yeah, the garrison itself is broken. Patrick's guys are doing all right. Ironclads are engaged. Same thing as before. I see fort firing at ships. I do not see ships firing at forts. I do see a nervous garrison. That's a good thing. Yep, I saw a little amphibious assault message in there. Let's slow this down a little bit. It's going by so fast I can't... Yeah, there's a little amphibious assault message. Oh, it files off toward the bottom, not toward the top. Another amphibious assault. Well, the gunners don't appear to be very good. Basically, it looks pretty similar to what happened with the Virginia blockade. A lot of shooting going on. Oh, there's a fleet fires at the fort. Miss. A lot of firing, a lot of missing. Whatever. At least it looks like the fleet is firing occasionally. Oh, this is getting a little bit closer toward victory. This is moving over. Seems an awfully long time to wear out 46 men. Is there an assault? No. There is an auto-resolve assault that may speed things up at the cost of casualties. Hell with it. Let's try that. That apparently had no effect. Well, I highlighted it, so I guess it's happening. Is it still highlighted? Yes. Move McClellan over to Lynchburg. Historical flavor. That newspaper headline always shows up. Yep, not much has happened here. We do have the assault option here, which would trigger a field battle against the Army of North Carolina. That may not be a bad idea. Is it updated? Nope. The game still thinks the Potomac Army has got 126,000 men, which they do not. And McClellan is capturing Lynchburg. Okay, Raleigh has taken Fort Donelson, which was apparently under the command of someone named Custer. Crittenden got some fame. Lieutenant Colonel, who's probably a battery commander. Yeah, this guy. For fame. Well, that's cool. His battery did not gain a star. Okay. Well, let's just proceed on up and attack Fort Henry. That ought to be close enough. Sioux Uprising, Minnesota. Okay, I don't know if that is just a historical flavor thing or if that is a Confederate policy. That may suck off some manpower to the west. I don't know that. I'm not sure about this one. Okay, we've lost about 66,000 men to casualties and attrition over the past 3 months, but we've returned 89,000 to service. That's good. Volunteer pool has actually come up a little bit, and I've still got an entire corps worth of units up here in Indianapolis. I could potentially make a third corps for the Army of Tennessee. Yeah, this is continuously edging a little bit closer to the right every time I look. The garrison itself is broken. Let's see if this little silly thing is showing any progress. Not really. 100% condition. Firepower remains the same. Garrison's actually growing. They're still nervous. Nothing much is happening to our squadron either. Other than the readiness is going down. This isn't right. Huh. Just move right up under the fort then. There we go. Okay, that looks good. This corps has picked up a second perk now. Let's go with flying column. I wonder if we have an army level perk yet. We do. Hospitals or ambulance, whatever it is. There we go. Meanwhile, the second corps, which has actually fought a field battle, still doesn't have a perk. This is irritating. Okay, Fort Perrin. Lost my orientation. Okay. So, the Army of North Carolina should be retreating. Back down the valley? Yeah? No! It's going north. Okay, we got our tariffs. I think I want to leave one slot for this final government funding. I've got 4 slots left for full policies. I think I'm going to want military 3. Let's So that's kind of 2 slots. I don't think I'm all that attracted by the diplomacy tree. Breadbasket 2 will improve European relations. I'm not that interested in that part, but it also increases the amount of agriculture subsidy I can have. I think I am interested in that. I don't feel compelled to go for the draft yet. I know I'll get there at some point. So I have 4 policy slots left once I increase the politics budget all the way up. I think those will be government funding 3, industry 3, military 3. So it really comes down to, do I want to save for industry 4? Or breadbasket 2? Or do I want to save for military 4? This looks pretty attractive. The issue with that, though, is it will not unlock until 1864. You know, this tier, Chapter 3, War So Terrible, you get these unlocked in 1863, and these don't come till 1864. So if I wait, you know, I'm kind of hoping the campaign doesn't go that long. I'm going to go for this agriculture one, which means I need to bump up politics. Another scooch. There we go. Get Patrick back up in here. That retreat route is really irritating. He's retreating into Union territory. Really? Ooh, supply situation not good here. And I kind of suspect he's not going to be able to stay there. Yeah, come on back up here to Salem. So Patrick can repair this fort. For some reason I can't this appears to be frozen. All right. Several things appear to be frozen. I'm going to put a break in here. I may save and reboot the game. In any case, thank you for watching.